55 million years ago,
Yeah.
a massive meteorite slammed into the Earth. And, mainstream history paints this as a chaotic, random accident.
Right, a total fluke.
Yeah, just a fluke that wiped out the dinosaurs and left whatever surviving life there was to just scramble in the dark,
Yeah.
hoping to survive by pure chance.
Exactly. It's a very bleak picture.
It is. But what if we look at this through a completely different lens? What if that impact wasn't a catastrophic accident at all?
Like, what if it was deliberate?
Yes, exactly. What if it was a precision-engineered cosmic payload deliberately designed to drop Earth's atmospheric oxygen levels to exactly 20.9%, which, as it turns out, is the precise microscopic margin required for you to take your next breath.
It's just a beautiful way to look at it. It completely inverts how we view natural history. We move away from the idea of a cosmic lottery,
Right.
We start examining the universe through a framework of just staggering, deliberate design.
And that is exactly our mission for this depth dive today. We want to welcome you, our listener, to a highly advanced, deeply detailed aspect to the revelations of Captain Ajit Vadakayal. It's a framework that unifies astrophysics, genetics, and ancient Vedic philosophy.
It really does. And if we are exploring the idea that the cosmos is fully conscious and intentional, we have to start with that monumental event 65 million years ago.
Right, the impact.
Yes, because as per Captain Ajit Vedakayal, mainstream geology actually focuses on the wrong impact site entirely.
Wait, really? Because you hear endlessly about the Chicxulub crater, right?
And
In
at
Mexico.
the time.
Uh.
But according to this framework, Chicxulub was essentially a minor event. The true planet-altering impact, the one that fundamentally terraformed Earth's atmosphere, occurred off the west coast of India.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at a location known as Bombay High.
The scale of what is proposed at Bombay High is, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. We're talking about a massive Shiva Lingam meteorite.
Massive.
Yeah, one that allegedly created a rectangular crater 600 by 400 kilometers.
Which is just staggering. That would make it the largest impact crater on the planet.
By far. But it didn't just, hit and leave a dent. The framework states it triggered the massive Deccan Traps volcanic eruptions.
Which is the crucial mechanism here. An impact of that magnitude fractures the Earth's crust deep into the mantle.
Right. It basically breaks the planet open.
Exactly. Unleashing volcanic activity that spews gases and lava for tens of thousands of years. But, we have to ask, why does this matter for the development of human life?
Right, because usually we associate massive volcanism with mass extinction, right? Not the creation of a habitable environment. So how does a meteorite triggering volcanoes actually prepare the Earth for us?
It all comes down to atmospheric chemistry. During the age of the dinosaurs, Earth's oxygen levels were hovering around 35%.
That is so high.
Incredibly high. And that was necessary to support the massive bodies and comparatively tiny wings of flying dinosaurs.
Oh, right, because the air was thicker.
Exactly. But it made the planet a giant tinderbox. Vegetation was highly flammable. So when the Shiva Lingam meteorite hit, the resulting global firestorms combined with the incredible volume of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide from the Deccan Traps.
So the volcanic gases actively reacted with and, bound up that excess oxygen.
Yes, precisely. The atmospheric fallout from the meteorite and the volcanoes dramatically choked the oxygen levels, stepping it down from 35% to exactly 20.9%.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is, because 20.9% just happens to be the exact perfect equilibrium required for the human respiratory system and brain to function optimally.
It's such a fascinating lens to look through, this whole idea of a cosmic terraforming mission. But I do have to ask a logistical question here.
Sure.
A rock hitting the ocean and triggering volcanoes is one thing. But, as per Captain Ajit Vadakayal, this meteorite also delivered the actual building blocks of life, right?
It did. The literal seeds of life.
But my question is, a meteorite hitting at cosmic speeds generates unimaginable crest-shattering heat. How do fragile organic molecules survive that kind of impact? Wouldn't they just instantly incinerate?
That is the exact question skeptics of panspermia always ask. The idea that life arrived from space.
Right.
But the chemical explanation here is quite specific. The meteorite didn't just bring raw, exposed DNA. It delivered complex enzymes known in ancient Sanskrit as sagala.
Gala, which translates to everything, right?
Yes, everything. Alongside nucleobases like adenine and guanine. But the key is they were shielded.
Shielded how? Like physically inside the rock?
Chemically shielded. They were bound in cyanide, carbon monoxide, and an incredibly rare heavy element called iridium.
Oh, iridium.
Yeah. This metallic and chemical matrix acted as a thermal shield during atmospheric entry and impact.
That makes so much sense. So it's basically a heat shield.
Exactly. And once the meteorite struck and fragmented, specifically in the waters of the Narmada River region, the water began to dissolve those protective compounds.
Wow.
And when those newly freed nucleobases were exposed to ultraviolet light from the sun, the chemical reaction catalyzed the formation of RNA and DNA.
That's like a perfectly timed recipe.
It really is. It also delivered the reactive phosphorus necessary to create ATP, which is the molecular battery that powers all cellular metabolism.
So the payload survives the crash because it's locked inside a chemical vault, which then only unlocks when it hits water. That is brilliant.
It's profound engineering.
And what's wild is that modern science, NASA and others, they're increasingly acknowledging that nucleobases do rain down via meteorites.
Right. They are just now catching up to this.
Exactly. But according to Captain Ajit Vadakayal, the ancient Vedic text described this thousands of years ago. The Rig Veda explicitly names this double helix DNA as Tavasta.
Tavasta, the coiled serpents that give rise to all living creatures.
Yes, the coiled serpents, which raises just a profound point about the ancient Vedic Maharishis. Because if you follow this framework, they possessed a highly advanced understanding of genetics long before the invention of the microscope.
Oh, absolutely. They deeply understood the biological coding of life.
Which naturally brings us to the Gotra system. So, assuming you, our listener, are familiar with the biological fragility of the male Y chromosome.
Right, the fact that it lacks a pair.
Exactly. It lacks a pair, so it cannot recombine to repair genetic damage over generations. How did the ancients theoretically know about this, and what did they do about it?
Well, they engineered an algorithmic social structure. Roughly 8,000 years ago, recognizing that the Y chromosome degrades over time due to this inability to repair itself, they established the Gotra system.
Chromosome lineage reproduce. Any recessive genetic mutations just compound each other.
Precisely. The Gotra system forcibly diversified the gene pool. It prevented the genetic intermixing of the exact same Y chromosome lineage.
Which mathematically ensures the survival of healthy, unique male lineages.
Yes. And they did this without the use of any modern laboratory equipment.
It just forces a major pivot in how we understand their knowledge base. How could ancient texts track chromosomal degradation? Well, as per Captain Ajit Vadakayal, it's because Western science has been looking at biology entirely backward.
Exactly backward.
Yeah, viewing it through a purely chemical lens, whereas the Vedic tradition viewed life through an electromagnetic quantum lens.
And this is really the bridge between the physical and the spiritual in his framework. The Darwinian model treats life as, a random puddle of biochemicals that just magically sparked into accidental evolution.
Right, just totally random.
But this framework reveals a model where life is fundamentally electromagnetic. The DNA blueprint doesn't just synthesize proteins. It functions as a biohologram.
A biohologram.
Yeah.
That is such a fascinating term.
It's a superconductor, really. It stores light, biophotons, at body temperature. Every single biochemical reaction in your body is actually preceded by an electromagnetic signal.
Wait, let me make sure I'm fully grasping the physics here.
Sure.
If DNA is an electromagnetic superconductor, then it's not just a hard drive sitting passively in our cells.
No, not at all.
It's an antenna. It's actively interacting with the energy of the universe.
That is exactly the claim. And to understand what it's interacting with, we have to look at the composition of the universe itself. Astrophysics tells us the universe is roughly 70% dark energy and 26% dark matter.
Right.
Normal physical matter, everything we can see, touch, measure, is just about 4%. Now, in the Vedic framework, dark energy, which is the expansive force of the cosmos, is personified as Shiva.
Okay.
And dark matter, the binding, contracting force, is personified as Kali.
So how does that macrocosmic physics map onto our microbiology? Like, how do Shiva and Kali intersect with human genetics?
It happens through the 97% of human DNA that modern science has historically just dismissed as junk DNA.
Oh, because it doesn't code for proteins, so they just assumed it was useless.
Exactly. But Captain Ajit Vadakayal argues that the cosmos does not store junk, that 97% is actually your soul record, or what Vedic science calls samskaras.
The soul record. Wow. What is actually stored there? And how does a biological molecule store something as intangible as a soul?
Well, in a holographic quantum universe, information is never lost. The samskaras hold the cosmic memory of your soul.
like previous incarnations.
Yes, previous incarnations, deep subconscious traits, even instinctual phobias. Because the DNA is a biohologram, it stores all this data electromagnetically.
Oh, I see.
And as a soul evolves, raising its frequency through successive lifetimes, it slowly overwrites this record. When the soul reaches ultimate liberation, that so-called junk DNA essentially reduces to zero, because the spiritual DNA has fully merged with the biological DNA.
Think of it like putting two pianos in the same room. If you strike a middle C on one piano, the acoustic wave travels across the room, and the middle C string on the second piano magically begins vibrating on its own, just through resonance.
That's a perfect analogy.
So he is essentially suggesting our DNA is that second piano string vibrating in resonance with the cosmic field.
Exactly. It's a perfect analogy for quantum coherence. When the tuning fork of your DNA strikes the correct frequency, all the subatomic particles in your body stop acting randomly.
They align.
Yes, they begin vibrating in perfect unison, acting as one giant coherent wave. And that unified vibration is what we actually experience as consciousness.
But mainstream neuroscience always says consciousness is just the byproduct of neurons firing in the brain.
Right, but this framework argues consciousness is a global quantum phenomenon. It operates everywhere in the body simultaneously.
Fascinating.
Specifically, it points to structures inside your brain cells called microtubules. There are these hollow cylindrical proteins. At the quantum level, these microtubules act as processing centers, reading the electromagnetic signals generated by your DNA and the surrounding cosmic field.
But this raises a really critical question, though. If the universe is this vast, interconnected quantum field, and our DNA is just an antenna picking up the cosmic broadcast,
Where does free will come in?
exactly, are we just fleshy radios playing a pre-written script?
That's the paradox of a quantum brain, and it's actually where free will originates. In a quantum state, before an observation is made, particles exist in a superposition.
A condition of all possible states.
Right. Free will is your brain's ability to collapse that wave function. You make quantum choices, taking infinite potential states and collapsing them into an actual physical reality. By consciously tuning your DNA to the subtle quantum matrix, the zero-point field, or akasha, which holds all past, present, and future information, you aren't following a script. You are choosing which reality to download from the hologram.
Which logically brings us to the mechanics of how we tune ourselves. Because if DNA is the resonant tuning fork holding the memories of the cosmos, what is the hammer? How do we strike it?
Right.
Are just everyday words doing it, or does it require very specific technology?
It requires specific mathematical frequencies, and according to Captain Ajit Madakayal, that technology is Sanskrit and the power of mantras.
Let's unpack the Sanskrit aspect, because usually we view ancient languages just as tools for, trading goods or writing poetry.
Communication.
Yeah. But this framework insists Sanskrit is entirely different. It supposedly evolved directly from the 12-strand DNA of highly evolved ancient seers. And the 54 alphabets of Sanskrit are said to align perfectly with the mathematical divine geometry of the Sri Yantra.
Exactly. It's really about cymatics, the study of how sound vibrations inherently create complex geometric patterns in physical matter.
Right.
Sanskrit wasn't designed to just be conversational. It was designed to be vibrational physics. A human voice speaking normally produces standard acoustic waves, but specific mantras are designed to generate longitudinal scalar waves.
Hold on, I need to stop you there.
Yeah.
Because a spoken word is essentially just moving air molecules, right? It's a mechanical sound wave.
Correct.
So how can moving air generate a scalar wave which operates at the quantum level and physically alter a genetic sequence inside a closed biological cell?
It's through a process called mechanotransduction. When you generate the precise acoustic vibration, that physical wave interacts with the cellular membrane.
Okay.
The membrane has ion channels that literally open and close based on mechanical stress. By hitting the exact right frequency, the sound wave alters the electrochemical gradient of the cell, which then sends an electromagnetic signal directly into the nucleus, interacting with the DNA.
Oh.
Because the mantras are perfectly structured, they create a scalar wave resonance that can literally reprogram the biohologram.
Okay, that makes complete sense of the physical bridge. It's not magic. It's acoustic resonance triggering cellular chemistry.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the most famous application of this, the Hindu king mantra, OM.
OM is arguably the most potent example. The true bass sound of OM operates at 7.83 hertz.
Which is this Schumann resonance, right? The fundamental electromagnetic resonance of the Earth itself,
Wow.
which is inaudible to the human ear.
Exactly. So when we chant OM, we are vocalizing the audible harmonics of that 7.83 hertz frequency. We are syncing our biohologram directly to the planetary frequency.